The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv. Getting ready for a council meeting on Tuesday, which is going to be a rather... We're not sure what's going to happen within the council with all the machinations going on with its leadership, and also with some of these things that are on the agenda that are just mind-boggling, just mind-boggling.
Don't you love the way money is being allocated? They're asking to allocate money from the Bristol County ARPA funds for the water and sewer projects, which I think is great. That's great, you know. But Laura Washington says, screw the taxpayer. I want $2 million for kids.
Well, that's what they are. They're the kings of the kids. They don't realize that the parents of the kids can't afford to live.
That's right.
And those kids may be living in a car because of them.
Right.
So they have no perspective on reality, because we have a mayor that's the king of the kids. He doesn't. Right. All he does is stuff. Oh, let's build it. Oh, isn't it ironic? I was just reading that little thing from 5 years ago about skating by. So now we're going to build a skating rink. Yep. Instead, you know, maybe that 325,000 or so could have done a lot better by having some rent relief for the parents of those children.
You think?
You know, yeah, I do. Yep. But apparently our mayor doesn't.
I know. And you know what's very interesting is that, you know, when you're looking at these agendas, they kind of get very plain and flat. Yeah. And then when you're comparing them to the page numbers, in a 200-page agenda, that's a bloody big agenda.
Oh, yeah. It is. It is.
And it's all money for the mayor's private pocket, for his private pocket friends, you know, the developers, the realtors, the bankers. And, you know, that makes it difficult for me to see. I haven't heard anywhere the ARPA money's going. Okay?
Well, since I last started listening. Listen, what's happened here is what's happened in the federal government. When you control the media and you control the narrative, you just can do anything you want. Right. And they cover up anything. Right. They cover up everything. They spin it in their direction and do the Goebbels and Hitler, tell a big enough lie enough, and as Hitler said in his speeches, he said, "How do you take over the government?" First you control the youth, begin to poison their minds, which they've done in college for the last 2 or 3 generations. And he did it with the Hitler Youth.
That's right.
He said, then you control the streets. You do that with your Gestapo, what they're doing now with the Department of Justice and what we're doing now. He said, and then you control the narrative, which they do now because they own the media. Right. And in Fall River, they're doing fundamentally the same thing. And I'm looking it up, and just look at the stuff. We've lost our government. Yeah. Paul Coogan has now become the most powerful mayor in the history of Fall River, while simultaneously being the most ineffective and incompetent mayor we've ever had. This city council, including our new councilor, are basically making him the king. He can do anything he wants. He can violate the law indiscriminately. I'm looking at
which he does.
Which he does. But this is the council. This is all on the council now. Okay, this is the agenda. They want a grant to withdraw resolutions on unregistered motorbikes. Well, who cares about the people being terrorized?
That's right.
But here are the two. They want to withdraw a resolution which would require city council approval for any stipend exceeding $2,000. And that was given grant to withdraw by the ordinance committee.
Right.
Where is their brain? You're going to allow this mayor, who's given out thousands and thousands of dollars in spite of ordinances, giving out massive pay raises. Police get 1, 1, and 1. Housing Authority gets 3, 3, and 3, and his friends get 5, 5, and 5, and 25 and 10. Now they're going to allow him. They did not pursue a resolution which basically said that they have to approve it. Well, guess what, pinheads? You have to approve it because it's an appropriation. It's money. You're giving up your job. And then the second one is even more mind-boggling. They want to withdraw a resolution that collective bargaining agreements include cost analysis. So now they can pass anything you want. The mayor can give as many stipends, $10,000 stipends, $15,000. Nobody cares. City council apparently doesn't care, even though it's their job. And now they're talking about collective bargaining agreements, and this is the height of insanity, because it shows that they don't know. Listen, I have sent them Chapter 150E, Section 7, 100 times.
I was going to say.
It's in the law. You have to cost these things out. You're supposed to cost. As a matter of fact, when I negotiated contracts, when we went to the table, everything we said, this is what we want for a pay raise. How much is that going to cost? We had to have the number. We want a $50 increase in clothing allowance. How much is that going to cost? We had to have everything, and they didn't trust us. They do the numbers too. And then when we went to the JLMC, you have to prove the city's ability to pay, and you have to show the cost of every single item that's in a collective bargaining agreement. That's the law. You know, they think they have the right to just ignore not only their job, which is to be the legislative body in the Ways and Means and appropriate money and give it to their pal, but they don't even have to comply with the collective bargaining laws, which are statutory and mandatory. Every collective bargaining agreement in this city is negotiated under the collective bargaining law, 150E. Where do you think you have the right to ignore the law? So I sent it a citizen's input because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I'm going to make it, because I had to make it really short. And they still may not get 3 minutes. They probably read it slow so they don't have to read it. But you guys can all listen to my citizen's input in full here. Dear Counselor, because I just made it generic, it goes to all the councilors. I find myself at a loss on how our legislative body is considering supporting a leave to withdraw on cost items. I'm going to editorialize here because that's their job. They have to appropriate it. I refer specifically to items 22 and 23. How can a legislative body that acts as the appropriating authority abdicate its sworn fiduciary and ethical duty to ensure that our money is both accounted for and spent in the best interest of the citizens of Fall River? That's a question I would like to hear them answer today. How can you ignore your duty to appropriate funds? You are going to give the executive branch the power to give out stipends in excess of $2,000 without the approval of the city council. That's exactly what item 22 will allow. The executive branch cannot give out taxpayer money unless it is appropriated by the legislative body. Even more disturbing is not requiring a cost analysis for collective bargaining agreements, which is what item 23 would do. Fundamentally, making it optional to know exactly how much money we are spending. Why is this so disturbing? Because it's a violation of the law. Chapter 150E, Section 7, Sub B, clearly states as followed, and this is an excerpt. but it is verbatim what's here. The employer, which is the city, shall submit to the appropriate legislative body, that's the city council, within 30 days a request for an appropriation necessary to fund the cost items contained therein. Pretty even somebody that reads on maybe an 8th grade level can figure that out.
I think a 3rd grader could figure that one out.
So how can you know if you have adequately funded all cost items without a cost analysis? You can't. You can't. As someone who's not only negotiated numerous collective bargaining agreements, but went to the JLMC, which is the Joint Labor Management Commission, on 2 contracts that had reached impasse, I can tell you that we listed the cost of every single benefit that carried a cost. Those figures were done before going to the table and were checked by the city as part of negotiations. And for the record, we won both. I am pretty sure the law is not being complied with any longer. That's how you get contracts that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars more than expected, like unlimited accrual of comp time, which results in paying salary and full benefits to people who are working another job for a year or 2 before they actually retire, and we can't fill those vacancies. I request that you reject the motion to withdraw on items 22 and 23. I also request that you resubmit language to ensure all city employees, just not the ones covered by Massachusetts General 150E, are subject to the same accountability for the protection of the taxpayer. In closing, you have sworn an oath to be our legislative branch. You cannot transfer or ignore your ethical and fiduciary responsibility to the citizens you were elected to represent. In God we trust, all others we question. Follow the Constitution, statutes, and ordinances that you swore to uphold. That's my citizens' input. And just to remind the council, I'm sending this one later on. I sent it to at least one councilor who I know will pay attention. Chapter 43, Section 97, City Council Powers, Duties, and Organizations. The City Council shall have and exercise all the legislative power of the city, legislative power, except as such powers that are reserved by this chapter to the school committee and, everybody hold your breath, because this is in the law, except such powers that are reserved by this chapter to the school committee and the qualified voters of the city. Not the mayor.
Right.
To us. Not the mayor. To the voters.
That's right.
That's what the law says.
I know.
And to buttress that argument, just to make sure they know that, our favorites from the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts, Article 4, the people of this Commonwealth have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and do, and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right. That's our right, to govern ourselves. It says that they have to, we have the qualified voters have the right. You got to represent us. And of course, our favorite, Article 5, all power originally residing in the people, not the mayor, and being derived from them, the several magistrates and officers of government vested with authority, whether legislative, we don't really have a judicial, or executive, are their substitution agents and at all times accountable to them. How? You know, we don't need a damn city council. They keep just letting him do whatever the hell he wants. What the hell is their job? What the hell is their job? To spend more of our money, not oversee our money? Like you said, they're going to try to relieve the burden, one of the biggest burdens that people of Fall River have, the storm water.
Yep.
Give us some relief, and we actually have a counselor with the audacity to say, no, let's spend a whole bunch of money on kids. Well, you know, it's nice to spend money on kids, and if this was Newton, I'd say yeah. But guess what? We have people facing evictions from their homes because of the increased rent. 2 out of 3 people in this city, probably 2.75 people, are living paycheck to paycheck. And do you want to take money out of something that's going to give the parents of these kids some relief so these kids can stay in their homes and live a better life? This is outrageous. But remember, these laws are meaningless unless we vote. Our power is in the vote. This council, I have never seen a council abdicate its authority as much as this council. This council is a travesty, except for Michelle Dion.
Yeah, no question about it. And like I said in the weekend flush, the mayor's got him in the pocket. They're all in the mayor's pocket, every one of them, except for Michelle. They're all in the mayor's pocket. And that's why I was so surprised with Andrew Raposo, because I figured he's new, he would have some new ideas, he would come forward and actually represent the people. He's representing the mayor. And as I said also, Laura Washington isn't even an elected official. She was appointed.
True.
And I want to remind them about the stipends. We had a stipend that was given to a city employee of $10,000, of which $5,000 went in the mayor's pocket.
Yeah, but remember, what's the answer to that? We don't talk about it anymore. We just remove that. The city council doesn't even hear about it.
That's right.
Just pay it.
That's right.
You, the taxpayer, pay the bill, shut up, and just keep paying your taxes. That's why Mary Sahadi said, well, you have to get 2.5 max every year. And now we got 2.5 max, plus the override, plus the diamond override. And we got the sewer fee. Why? Because somebody didn't fill out the paperwork. Housing Authority gets 3% pay raises. Nobody else is getting pay raises. The economy is dying. Police get 1, 1, and 1. They're going out in the streets and doing their job. And this is outrageous. You're right. We forget $10,000 stipend. That's more than a third of the average per capita income in the city of Fall River.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows how outrageous it is. He's paid in violation of ordinances. Now they want to give him more power to do this. And they're violating a law, Chapter 150E. But that's the problem. In my day, we had to go and negotiate a pay raise. We had to prove the city would pay us. They didn't want to pay anybody. We had to go fight for it. Mm-hmm. Now, you get in, you kiss the mayor's butt, you hold signs for him, and you get whatever the hell you want, no matter how much it costs.
And we saw that with Jazel, too.
And the whole key, that's right, with all of them, the whole key is keep it behind the curtain, under the radar. Paul Coogan has brought the school department over to the city side now. Do we know how much his nephew has gotten since he started on the school committee? That would be a very interesting thing. Started on school, he's only been on there. The school department. He's only been working there 5 years, 6 years? I don't know.
I know he got a substantial raise recently.
Yeah, I think he's a vice principal already.
Right.
Yeah, and how much does the rest of his relatives get?
Right.
And all the people in the school department, because you go along to get along. And now we have a city council who has an ethical and fiduciary responsibility. And by the way, they can't say they don't know about it, because a while back, during the budget hearings, I sent them the legal opinions about their financial and ethical duty to work in the best interest of the taxpayer, not their friends and their political hack friends and their politician friends. This is mind-boggling. I can't believe they're going to let him basically go, like you said, and it could happen again, another $10,000 stipend.
Right.
And how are the citizens of Fall River going to know? The city council doesn't appropriate it. Then they'll say, we appropriate it during the budget. No, you don't. That's not the way the process is supposed to happen.
That's right. That's right. But see, this is their argument all the time. Just like this budget went through like this.
Yep.
Rubber stamped all the way, and that was it. only person arguing for the taxpayer was Michelle Dion. Honestly, every other city councilor, all 8 of them, should be kicked out next election. All of them. Gone. Because they're all idiots.
You're right.
They're all idiots.
And they were given the law that
Right.
says that you can't do that.
And when you give them the law, you're a troublemaker. When you argue for the people, you're a troublemaker. I'm a troublemaker. He's a troublemaker. Guess what? We're doing what's right. We're troublemakers because we're pointing out your job. This is your friggin' job. You wanted it. You begged for it. You went out to get votes for it. Do it.
Well,
Do it.
I'm going to tell you right now, if they allow this guy to do this and try to make the case that they can violate 43, 33A, 150E, Section 7, city ordinances, they're going to find out, because if they withdraw this and give him the power to do this, I'm going to be filing an ethics complaint and a complaint with the Attorney General. They are violating their sworn oath to uphold the laws and the ordinances and abide by the Constitution of our community.
Maura Healey won't do crap. And I'm going to tell you why Maura Healey won't do crap. Paul was standing on President Avenue holding signs for Maura Healey saying, yes, vote for Maura Healey. If you want a sign, come by here. We'll give you a sign for Maura Healey. He already endorsed Maura Healey.
Yeah.
Okay? So Maura Healey's not going to do anything to Fall River because she's got Fall River in the bag, she thinks.
She thinks, but I'll tell you what, I sat in the audience at the Macros convention and heard Maura Healey say that the biggest problem we have in the state of Massachusetts is the unaffordability of housing for the average person, not the poor, not the Section 8s, not the public housing, Paul, the affordable housing crisis. So I'm going to send it to her, and I'm going to remind her that, and she's going to know, because listen, this state is a disaster. We don't get tax breaks. Everybody doesn't care. But they cannot just unilaterally not do their duty and be called on it. And if you want to call me a troublemaker, as they say in Germany, Max nix. It doesn't make any difference.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any difference. I do not care. I have to abide by 150E to the letter when I negotiated a contract. I was held, I could not violate one thing, and that's the reason I beat them in both those JLMC cases, because we costed everything out. Now nobody costs anything out. Like I said, look, you got people for 2 years. A guy's a dean of students getting a full-time paycheck, being paid like a police officer who's putting his life on the line every day.
Right.
For 2 years. Mm-hmm. And we can't fill that vacancy.
Right.
We can't fill it.
Right.
Because the job, he's still on the payroll.
Exactly.
But he's really not working. Mm-hmm. Who negotiates crap like this? You know why? Nobody ever costs anything out now.
That's right.
Nobody ever does that. And in the old days, the city, we'd submit a number. The city wouldn't even look at the number. You know what they said? Okay, we're taking the numbers, we're going to send them, and we're going to check every number, and we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you at the next meeting to see if there's any disparity in the numbers. There never was, but the fact is, that was part of the negotiating process, because the law clearly stipulates that you have to send an appropriation down for every cost item to fully cost. So you can't do that without running the numbers. But they, like you said, CJ, they don't care. It's like the giant double finger with the hands, and they even got, if they could do it with their toes, they'd give you the 2 middle toes. You get 4 of them. Nobody gives a damn. They don't care about the law. Screw it. I'm going to go back to the radio station, and like I said, it's just that there's a double standard. They're going to let this guy give everything out he wants, and, just let's look at it, because the government is the antithesis of efficiency. If it's the government, it's screwed up.
Right.
If you can't get a job in a profession, you go work for a government, because that's where you get it. Look at Fauci. He's been wrong a million times, and now he was upset because they booed him at the baseball game. And you look at these people now. You just told me before that the guy who couldn't cut it as a city administrator
Yep.
now has got a promotion
Yep.
and another pay raise. You know why? Because he slid over from
That's
the
right.
housing authority, plugged up the gap, pretended he was a city administrator who knew nothing, but he still pretended. And then he slithered back right over to the housing authority, and what was his reward? Pay raise, promotion, shut your mouth, keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
Nobody will know anymore. And that's the thing, at least before we knew. When these people got these jobs and got these pay raises and they came before the council, we had somebody besides just Michelle Dion saying, hey, well, you gave this benefit out, it's going to cost like $1 million. You know, and then the taxpayers get a little outraged maybe, and maybe not a little. But what they want to do is do the school department. You know, it's like North Korea, the hermit kingdom. Just don't talk about it, and it doesn't exist. If a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody there, does it really make a sound? That's the old philosophical question. Well, their question, their attitude is, if nobody knows about these pay raises and we never talk about them, they're never going to know, and they're just going to keep paying their taxes and keep their mouth shut. Well, yeah, we're not. We're going to do everything we can to remove you people from the city council because you don't belong there. Remember what the law says, that you can exercise the power except such powers that are reserved by this chapter for two entities, the school committee, which is a separate body, and the qualified voters of the city. And the two of us are both qualified voters
That's
in the
right.
city of Fall River the last time I checked. So we're going to get a whole bunch of qualified voters and try to build a fire under their butts because you got to get sick of this. You're going to let the mayor, the worst mayor we've ever had for giving out inordinate pay raises, and give him carte blanche to do anything he wants without even asking you now. Oh, we're only here to appropriate money, but don't worry about it, Paulie. Just go. And look at it. In excess of 2,000. We only want you to bring down to us the chump change that nobody will complain about.
Right.
But when you give out the big stipends, we don't want anybody to know. Just do it, shut up, and we won't take heat and you won't take heat because nobody will know the difference. And that's exactly what they're doing.
And that's sad. It's really sad. You know, I'll tell you right now, I hope at this housing authority meeting that Jason Burns steps up, because the housing authority employees are getting a 3, 3, and 3 pay raise. Okay? Mm-hmm. The public safety officers don't even get that. They didn't even get a 3, 3, and 3 pay raise. So I hope Jason Burns either votes no on it or steps up and gets other people to vote no on it, because the 3, 3, and 3 is not fair to our public safety employees.
Okay, I have a question. One of our, is McCoy also the chairman of the licensing board?
Yes, yes he is.
And that's a paid position.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you get extra for being a chairman?
Yep.
Okay. Enough said. Paulie strikes again. Patronage Paul.
Yep.
Here he goes.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And remember, Tim McCoy couldn't make it as a city administrator. He always had Mary Sahadi sitting on the side of him, handling these situations. Then he goes back to purchasing at the housing authority because they protected his job for him so he could come to Fall River, the Fall River side. And they protected his job. They didn't fulfill it. They didn't say he had to quit. They gave him a leave of absence for it. I've never heard of a job that you can take a leave of absence to go and do another job unless it was for military service. Military service is another thing. But, you know, it just amazes me what happens here in Fall River. And you, the voter, lets it happen because you elect these morons, all morons. Well, we're out of time. We never have enough time. We need a 2-hour show. I want to thank you all for watching, and enjoy the beautiful day that's out there. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.